Giữa năm ngoái, Việt Nam và EU đã thống nhất tách EVFTA thành hai hiệp định, với phần chính hiệp định cũ là Hiệp định Thương mại Tự do và phần còn lại là Hiệp định Bảo hộ Đầu tư. Hiệp định này còn có giá trị lớn hơn so với thỏa thuận CPTPP mới, không bao gồm Mỹ mà Việt Nam mới tham gia. Mời quý vị cùng gặp gỡ ông Bundik, Phó Chủ tịch Hiệp hội Doanh nghiệp Trung và Đông Âu CEEC để cùng tìm hiểu sâu hơn về sự kiện này. Thank you very much for coming to one event today.
Thank you for the invite.
So the European Council had officially announced the approval of two agreements between EU and Vietnam. So why is the old EVFTA divided into separate agreements?
For this, you have to understand the structure of the European Union. So there are the member states and there are the European Union. And there are different competencies. Trade is the joint competence, is the competence of the European Union. Investment is very much linked to the member state competencies. So this is why it's a kind of technical move to make the process faster, because trade could be approved by the European Union and investment will be ratified by the member states. Well, it's not old version and new version. So it's trade and investment was in one package. Now it's trade and investment in two different packages. It's already negotiated and agreed by the Vietnamese government and the European Union. Now the rest is just kind of ratification and make it, just start it sooner or later. Hopefully, if the member states and the Vietnamese parliament will ratify it, it can happen even within few months, even in the trade level, even in the investment level. The trade level is once it's signed, once it's approved by the parliament, it will be already effective. So there is not too much different on that. It's just like, as I mentioned to you, it's a kind of technical solution to speed it up.
Why is the EVFTA and the EVIPA agreements considered as the model bilateral agreement?
It's very complex. If you see the material, so it's available in the website of the European Union. It's really a massive material. It covers a lot of different areas. And this will be a model because this is the first free trade agreement of the European Union with a developing country. Like we already have, for example, with Singapore. Singapore is already an advanced, developed country economy. So this is the first, and it will be a model for the upcoming free trade agreement. So the European Union started the negotiation with Thailand many years ago, and also there was an initiative to have an EU-ASEAN to region-to-region level free trade agreement. So once it's concluded and it's ratified, it will be a very good benchmark, a very good model for these upcoming free trade agreements.
What are the benefits of the FTA between the EU and Vietnam for businesses of the both sides in a trade promotion?
So there will be a lot of benefits. Normally business people want to have two basic things, easy life and reasonable profit. So this free trade agreement helps in both of the ways, because it gives access to markets, either for the Vietnamese companies to Europe and European companies to have better access to Vietnam, and also will remove a lot of difficulties, barriers, tariffs, even non-tariff barriers. So the ease of doing business will be more like advanced, better and more favorable for the companies.
How do you expect Vietnam economy to develop when EVFTA officially take effect?
It will be very, very beneficial for the Vietnamese economy. Few basic numbers I can share with you. This agreement will create more than 450,000 jobs in Vietnam. It will increase Vietnamese GDP in long term by 15%. So it's really a massive, huge benefit for the Vietnamese economy in the macro level, in the companies level, better access to the European markets, bring the traditional products of Vietnam to the European Union, agriculture products, aquaculture, electronics, footwear, textile. So these areas will be the beneficiaries. Vietnam has two main free trade agreements this year, CPTPP and the EU-Vietnam free trade agreement. And it's a little bit interesting to see from communication point of view, because even you in the media all the time talk about CPTPP and European Union deal. But if you see the details, the European Union deal is more significant, if you ask me from my personal point of view, more significant for the Vietnamese economy, because the CPTPP will create like 26,000 jobs. The European will like 450, so it's just like 20 times more. The GDP impact on the Vietnamese economy is also more significant at the European level. It was how it was before. It was not called CPTPP. It was just like TPP, but the US is not part of it anymore. Therefore, the significance is not as big as it could be with the still the largest economy of the world. So since the US is not part of it anymore, sadly, the significance is not as big as it was expected by the Vietnamese stakeholders, Vietnamese businesses.
Thank you very much. Hiệp định EVFTA sẽ thúc đẩy quan hệ thương mại Việt Nam-EU, giúp mở rộng hơn nữa thị trường cho hàng xuất khẩu của Việt Nam. Tuy nhiên, liệu việc thông qua và thực hiện EVFTA còn gặp những khó khăn gì? Mời quý vị đến với phóng sự sau trước khi trở lại với khách mời của chương trình. How do you assess Vietnam's efforts in the process of approval EVFTA?
It was a long procedure. I myself was not involved directly, only a little bit through Eurocham. The negotiators were very well prepared, so that's why, you know, even the negotiation rounds, there were several, and once, you know, there was some kind of slowdown in the approval procedure in the European Union. Many Vietnamese stakeholders, together with the delegation of Eurocham, went to Brussels, convinced the decision makers to approve and like push the procedure further. So it was very well coordinated, very well organized, very well prepared. So far, it's a good job. The big question for the future is like implementation. Right? So once all the legal procedures are done, and then there will be the period for the implementation, for the operation, for the day life. We have to see how it works in the level of implementation. So, you know, there were like tens of thousands of Vietnamese graduated in our countries. So we are very happy to be part, we as Central and Eastern European Chamber, we are very happy to be part of Eurocham. But as you see, a Romanian minister will come to sign the agreement aligned with the EU commissioner. So it makes us kind of proud because you know, we are the traditional friends of Vietnam, right? Some of our companies have been here for more than 60 years. So it's a little bit like kind of recognition for us and a little bit like an extra joy to see that someone from Central and Eastern Europe on behalf of the European Union will sign this very significant and historical contract or agreement with Vietnam.
Since 2015, EVFTA has been delayed to sign many times for many obstacles. So what happened?
Okay, again, you have to understand the European Union. It's big, right? 28 different countries. And we have 24 different languages, I mean official languages. So once you see the material ratified or like approved in English, there is a translation procedure for all these 24 languages. Besides, to take this split based on the former Singaporean European agreement, it takes time. So it's not a one person's decision, right? So the European Court made this decision. Obviously, it takes time, takes the preparation, and also it relates very much to the competence of the member states. It's all the time a kind of sensitive issue, or they have to be very careful what to ask from the member states. So member states are very much careful what is their competence and what is already at the European Union level competence. So it takes time, basically. So European Union is big, right? Second largest trade partner for Vietnam. The benefit, why is it big? Because it collects 28 different countries. Sometimes the decision making is a little bit slow, but once we are there, we are massively there.
What are the other challenges that you think the way forward to EVFTA and EVIPA can meet?
More or less, hopefully we have like few months and everything will be ratified with all the parliaments in a very best scenario. The challenge will come, as I mentioned to you, the implementation. So Vietnam is 150th member of WTO. The WTO agreement was in place back to several years, and the implementation was not as quick as the foreign stakeholders, foreign businesses expected. Hopefully, it will be different. Yesterday at VBF, Dr. Locke from VCCI mentioned that we don't have to wait until all the ratification is done. He initiated a meeting with Eurochem and start to work on the implementation, start to work on how it will be effective, what kind of task and responsibilities we will have once all the legal procedure is done to make it like quick, efficient and beneficial both for the Vietnamese and the European companies.
So with the level of the EVFTA, do you think that Vietnamese businessmen have enough standard to deal with this?
Well, in the European Union, about standards we have a lot, sometimes more than enough. Yes. It's more like access to the market. So if you follow these standards, Vietnam want to leave the cheap labor force-based competitiveness and more, more advanced and go to the knowledge-based economy, more added value, a higher level in the supply chain, right? So this is a good access, a good way to promote those products that are already in that level. So what Vietnamese products should do, or Vietnamese companies should do, branding. So not just sell a good but cheap products, but make it a nice package, make it as a good brand, raise the profile of the product. Don't let some creative business people buy the Vietnamese rice, repackage it and sell in double price with a better brand in Europe, right? Why not the Vietnamese companies are doing that? So it's very important to remember. So it's an access to the market, but the European customers are very kind of picky, right? They need good quality. And food safety is a traditional issue in Vietnam. So if the Vietnamese companies want to convince the Europeans to buy the Vietnamese products, it's very important to convince them about the food is clean, the vegetable is organic, I mean really organic, and it takes some effort, but once it works well, and once you create a brand, once you create an image of the good Vietnamese products, Vietnamese agricultural products, you are very famous already about rice and coffee, yes. But there are many others in Vietnam could meet the interest of the European customers, but again, convincing them is not an easy process. It takes time, it takes branding, it takes kind of trust building. Right? So you have to build the trust, and you will have an access for a very good, kind of very rich market where the customers are, very happy to pay for a good quality product.
Yeah. So with a company already in Vietnam like your company, what will you benefit from the EVFTA?
For the Europeans, we expect some markets to be open for us, especially in services, banking or postal services. Also, we have some special agriculture products, so we expect to have better protection. Intellectual property in general, it's an issue. Like as we discussed, Vietnam want to be more like technology-based and knowledge-based. The minimum requirements for that is a good intellectual property protection, and the free trade agreement will have massive impact even in that level. So we hope we can bring more technologies from Europe to Vietnam because it's a huge market. So with a combination of this hardworking Vietnamese people, a good market and the good technologies in Europe can be beneficial for the Vietnamese people, for the Vietnamese economy, also for the European companies. So that's my hope. That's what I expect from the free trade agreement.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.